Right, I want to move on to talk about the Michael Edwards scenario for a minute. And I want to talk about the contract extensions for Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mohamed Salah. I think this is a really pivotal moment in Liverpool's current purple patch, if you want to call it that. It is really difficult to have a conversation and remove emotion from it, particularly when we're talking about Virgil and Mo. I think most of us will agree there is very few reasons, if any, to consider not giving Trent a new deal. I imagine that when Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes sit down, that will be one of the first things in their inbox to make sure that Trent Alexander-Arnold is tied down to a new long-term deal that, you know, befits his status as the vice-captain of the club, recognises obviously his standing in football and the fact that he's a local boy and what he brings to the team. So I'm not expecting any issues whatsoever around that, unless, heaven forbid, Trent wanted to move away. I don't think that's going to be the case, so I would imagine that that one is going to be straightforward. But the other two, Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah, this is where I think we as fans are going to have to brace ourselves a little bit. This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe and secure from hackers. Using Surfshark, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries or other streaming platforms like DAZN in Spain for all those important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. Everything. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe from being hacked if you use public Wi-Fi. Let's say you're in a cafe, you're at college, you're out and about, they've got you covered. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning you can share your account with friends or family or that neighbour who's a little bit cheap. On top of all of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can also upgrade to Surfshark One, which includes the VPN, an alert system for breaches related to your data, such as emails and credit cards, and an antivirus software for your desktop. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for a little over €2 a month, and you'll get an additional 3 months free. Simply scan the QR code on screen right now or use the link in the description and enter the code Anfield Agenda at checkout. Now, we don't know what exactly will happen, but we do know that Michael Edwards is a bit different from Jurgen. Jurgen was the one in the past who pushed for a James Milner, a Jordan Henderson, these players to get contracts into their 30s. We know FSG and the club not really so fond of keeping players that late. And if you look at it from the point of view of value, you're going to have to ask yourself right now, how much longer, one, can Virg and Mohamed Salah continue to play at the top level? Now, of course, we as fans think minimum 2, 3, 4 years, and you're probably correct. But we also have to look at the Michael Edwards factor of looking for value. And we spoke earlier on in the season about the Newcastle sporting director coming out and saying that they might have to look at the Liverpool model of selling a player to start the rebuild again. So remember, when we sold Philippe Coutinho, that allowed us the money to go and buy Alisson Becker and Virgil van Dijk, and that transformed this Liverpool team. So what was initially a very unpalatable decision was dealt with very well, and that money reinvested. So for Newcastle, they're kind of bracing their fans for a similar thing. But I guess the reason I bring up Liverpool and Michael Edwards right now is, should we need that? Surely we're at a point of the club right now where the idea of having to sell players to fund purchases doesn't sit right. Because on one hand, you've got FSG and all the reporting on them to say they've been brilliant since they've come into the club. The corporate side has developed, the commercial partners have developed, Liverpool on the pitch have developed, television rights have developed, the Annie Road End has been done, the main stand has been done, and we hear lots of great stuff about the Nike contract and the money that brings into the club. So then you have that over one side. Then on the other side, your brain's hearing, but then maybe we have to move some players on. Maybe Liverpool want to refresh a little bit. And the word refresh is key there, because that makes it sound like it's just because of the age. I don't think it is. I think with Michael Edwards coming in, he may look at this and look like we do, or we don't, I should say, past the emotion and just look at the underlying numbers. So I hope that's where Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk make a very bold claim to say, well, we're not dropping off. Make sure we get in a contract extension. But we also know, as I've said at the start of this, that Edwards, he's not a fan of keeping players into their 30s by the sounds of it. And certainly when I've spoken to or messaged with people far better connected than me over this, they're a little bit concerned. And of course, as fans, every one of us, I can chat with you all and we'll say, renew, 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 because we know and we're emotionally invested with the lads. But sometimes I do look at situations and think, sometimes it is better to sell a year early than a year late. And you've heard me saying that over and over again. Sometimes it is better to sell at the right time. And I think of the three players mentioned, the likely one to be sold is Salah, for me. For a whole host of reasons. One, we know about the Saudi Pro League and their name your number briefings on Mohamed Salah. But if he does depart from Liverpool, I don't see how he progresses with his career. So I'm hoping that from Salah's side and his agent, when they come to sit down with Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, that they're somewhat realistic in what they ask for if they're talking about a new deal. I think terms of the new deal with regards to years, all of us here, I feel confident in saying, we'll have no problem with Mo getting, let's say, a 2-year contract extension with the option of a third. But does he justify a pay rise? And that, I think, is key here, because whenever we've seen Mohamed Salah and Rami Abasisa talk about Mo's future, they talk about a contract reflecting his status in the game. And he is Liverpool's highest earner, but with regards to world football's highest earners, if we take his rumoured £350,000 a week base salary, he could probably get a lot more money elsewhere. But would he have the same opportunity to fulfil his sporting side elsewhere? Because Liverpool, you can argue, will be challenging for the Premier League next year. Even though we're out of the Champions League this year, we'll be back in it next year and looking to go deep into it again. So why need for Mo to move on in that regard? And if we move to the likes of PSG, who by all means would have the money to make Mo a higher paid player, I don't think he'd be able to achieve the same things there. So I don't view that as a step forward in his career. It's a tough one, especially around Mo, because I think he's too good to go and play in the Saudi Pro League, and I think most of you guys probably feel the same. And if he went over there, it would have to be for cultural or financial reasons. I don't know the answer to that, but I feel like that's the one I'm most concerned about. Virgil, I think we'll see a deal. I think we'll see him extend, particularly because he's played so well this season. You know, look at Virgil last year to this year, and Virgil will say himself that he never really felt like he was back at it 100% last year. He was still, I don't want to say he was doubting his own body, but he was still trying to figure out what life after the ACL looks like for him and what levels he can get back to. This year, well, statistically, he's one of, if not the best centre-back in European football. So if Michael Edwards looks at the numbers in that regard, you'd hope he sees value. Same with Mo. 7 seasons now. 7. Okay, I'm getting flashbacks with 7. 7 seasons in a row, Mohamed Salah has scored 20 plus goals. That is phenomenal. So no signs that Mo's dropping off. But I got to be honest, I wouldn't give him a pay rise. I've said this all the way through this season. I would not give him a pay rise. I'd give him a contract extension, but on the terms he's on now. Because as much as I do think Mo's brilliant and still delivering, again, put myself out there and being honest, I do feel like his best days are behind him. Not to say he isn't still hugely influential. Not to say he isn't still capable, very much so at this level. But his peak's over. I've got to say, I do feel that, truly. His best days are behind him. So that's why I personally wouldn't like to see him get a wage increase. I don't think it makes sense. But a contract increase, absolutely. So that's where I am with that. With Trent, look, I feel like it's fairly straightforward. He'll get a deal that will reflect his status, reflect his seniority in the team, and of course, tie him down because he's coming into the peak point of his career right now, and he's developed at Liverpool, won everything at Liverpool, his experience with Liverpool, and obviously he's a local boy. So that's where I'm at with the 3 contracts that are due to be negotiated. And just to go a little bit further, Matip and Thiago, no thank you. Thank you for your service, particularly Joe Matip, but no way on earth would I be looking at giving a new contract out. Now, it's already been spoken about that Thiago is going to be departing in the summer. But on Joel Matip, there's no room for sentimentality here. Like, help him get back to fitness, absolutely. And if he hasn't got a club by that point, absolutely allow him to use the facility, absolutely allow him to work with the coaches. But we can't have sentimentality. We need to refresh the age of the team, and I think with his contract being up, it's the right time to say goodbye to him. Difficult decision to make. And then of course we'll talk about Queevy and Kelleher and his contract situation. Yeah, it's interesting. And one more before I finish up and come back over to you guys for your thoughts. Andy Robertson. There's been a lot of talk about clubs interested in him and about whether he'll get back to his level. Now, I think he will, and I definitely don't want to sell him. But we've seen Bayern Munich mentioned and a couple of other clubs. So where are we at with the left-back situation? Because I'm comfortable with Robbo, but I'm not really comfortable with Costas. I don't feel Costas has pushed on to the point where I feel like if Andy Robertson hangs up his boots, Costas is going to be our left-back. I'm not there with Costas, and that's the reason why I feel like I'd be open to selling Costas Tsimikas this summer and then bringing in another left-back. Or maybe if the new manager coming in likes to look at Chambers, and there was another young player coming through whose name escapes me at this moment in time. So these are all decisions that are going to have to be taken soon. But now it's over to you. So let me know what you think. Van Dijk, Salah, Trent, what would you do in this situation? Robertson, is there any need to look to sell? And with Matip and Thiago, do you agree with me, or would you like to see maybe Matip given a new deal?